Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick, and today guys we're jumping down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at everything that's been going on recently and what I would expect to happen next. We'll be taking a look at Elliott wave theory, we'll be taking a look at head and shoulder patterns, inverse head and shoulder patterns, and all of that good stuff. If you find this video useful and informative, hit the like button, I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Now, if you have not yet joined us in Discord, the link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. And also in the description down below, you're going to find links to our Patreon services, where we offer a lot more for our Patreon members via Discord, everything from buying, selling, staking alerts, trading, project reviews, AMAs, and a whole host of additional benefits. If that's your bag, why not go ahead and check those out as well. There's also a link to the new Cheeky podcast down below as well, run by the Cheeky community. Why not check that one out? It's a fantastic listen on your daily commute into the office. All right, guys, let's waste no more time though. Let's jump right down into this, right? So here we have Bitcoin paired up with USDT. This is actually the 4-hourly chart, and Binance is our data source. So kind of what we were talking about yesterday has actually kind of come into fruition here. We finished wave 3 down here. We've bounced up a little bit higher than expected on our 4th wave, and we were looking to come down into our 5th wave low. So we're going to talk about this from an Elliott wave theory perspective first, and then we'll jump down into patterns such as the head and shoulders and inverse head and shoulders. Okay, so the first thing we need to acknowledge is obviously that wave 3 here seems to be done, okay, and we're moving on up. Now, I say wave 3 is done. It kind of looks like we could argue that maybe this little move here is our wave 5, but I don't think it is. I think essentially that is the bottom of wave 3 based on everything that's going on here. I would say that actually makes a lot more sense. And then we've bounced up here into wave 4. Now, because wave 4 went up higher than expected here, it actually came across to this area of resistance. You can kind of see that basically we failed to close just here. Let me actually grab a horizontal line and I'll show you what I mean. So right here, these 4 candles, we basically wicked down, but we did not close below this line, and this was the area that we actually went up to and found resistance on. Now, if I bring this all the way across over here as well, you can see the same kind of scenario, right? We wicked above it, but we're unable to close above this line. So this is our resistance line right here. And so I'm going to leave this one in because I do think this is actually going to be important resistance. This actually comes in at $20,425. Okay, so with knowing that this is our wave 4, we can take our low point and our high point here, and we can now go ahead and just map out where our expectations of wave 5 are going to be. Okay, so they actually, because we went up higher with wave 4, it means that wave 5 is going to go down lower than we were expecting previously. Okay, so if I grab hold of my price labels here, and I'm just going to throw these on, this basically is $18,026. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this to $26. Okay, so that's the lower side, and on the higher side of the spectrum, we'll just go ahead and put this one in. It comes in at $18,568. Okay, so we have that there. So that becomes our 5th wave expectations. It's going to be somewhere in this kind of range. There's about a $500 level or difference between the two, between the lower side and the higher side. So we'll just keep a close eye on that. That's kind of where I would expect. Once this comes in and basically is complete down here, I would expect some kind of bounce upwards. Okay, now this bounce to the upside is going to be an interesting area. Now, if we come back again and we take a look at some of this resistance, specifically up here, I would say that I'm gonna put it right on top of this wick just here, and this could be our expectation. Now, in order from like an Elliott wave theory perspective, we're going to take the worst case scenario down here. Okay, so this is our $18,026, right? So we take the high. Actually, let me grab hold of that in from here. So we grab the high point, and we're just going to come down to that low point just there. Now, from a wave 2 perspective, we would have this come up anywhere between 50% and 88.2%. Okay, so I'll just drop that there and then just move this across a little bit, and then I'll just put some price labels in here as well. So essentially this comes in, and if I just put this in here, is $21,942 on the upper side. So that kind of be your best case scenario. And then on the lower side, we would have this down here at, just draw that as 20,000 $152. Okay, so we end up with these kind of two levels, basically just for our kind of bounce. Okay, so the higher kind of side. Now we can see our dashed line comes in at $21,723, and this is an area of resistance that we're probably going to come up against. So that's right inside our little sweet spot. But in fact, both of these areas are inside, but I would look for us pushing up. I would probably say that we find resistance up here on some kind of bounce, some kind of pull through, some kind of break up, and then probably find resistance up here. Now, why am I saying this? This is really important. Like from an Elliott wave theory perspective, when we have 5 waves drop down like this, let me just remove the fib, 5 waves down, we should expect 3 waves up and then at least another 5 waves down. Okay. And that basically kind of completes a zigzag. Now, a zigzag is a 5, 3, 5. So 5 waves down, 3 waves up, 5 waves down. Of course, when you have 5 waves down like this, it could also become 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, meaning that you have 3 sets of 5 waves going down with 2 sets of 3 waves going up. Okay, so just to kind of reiterate that, we've either got we've got something that looks like this. We have 5 waves that come down. This is really badly drawn, so apologies for that. And then another 5 waves that go down. Okay, that's a zigzag. And a zigzag essentially is just A, B, C. Okay, or alternatively, you end up with an additional 3 waves and then an additional 5 waves going down. Okay, so those are the patterns that you usually end up with: a 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. Or a 5, 3, 5. Okay, so those are the expectations that we have here for this particular move, because when we start with 5 waves, it's going to be one of those 2 patterns, at least on the micro scale of things. So that's that, right? So from an Elliott wave theory perspective, we're looking for some downward price action. And if we take a look at the previous areas of support, I think, yeah, we could probably be looking at somewhere down here. Maybe even the upper end of this at 18,568. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. Okay, so you can see that we're pulling back a bit here already. So with that being said, we'd then push up, and that's our Elliott wave theory kind of perspective. Now, if we are kind of more pattern-based traders, then the other thing that we want to kind of acknowledge here is a head and shoulder pattern and an inverse head and shoulder pattern, right? Because I think there's a few things here that are going on that are probably worth kind of noting, right? So let's first of all take this from an inverse head and shoulder pattern, right? An inverse head and shoulder pattern, if I grab hold of this, I think it's in here. Let me just grab it. Yeah. So an inverse head and shoulder pattern would be a bullish pattern, okay? Essentially, you have a left shoulder that comes up, a head that comes on down, and you find that little balance somewhere here, and then we pull back down into a right shoulder that comes on up, and then you break to the upside. Okay, so when you have this particular pattern, you end up with a break to the upside afterwards. Okay, normally this then tests back on the neckline, and then you kind of rally on up, something to that effect, right? So that's your inverse head and shoulders, and then of course you have your head and shoulder pattern, which is basically a bearish sign, where you go up like so. Okay, and this one should be familiar with this one. Okay, and in the same scenario here, you break the neckline, you test it, you get rejected, you go down. Okay, so knowing that there's those kind of patterns and how they kind of work, we can now come and have a look at our structure here. Now, obviously within Elliott wave theory, these patterns are really easy to understand, right? Essentially, you're looking at your movements counter to each other. So what I mean by this is over this side here, right, where we had our kind of resistance and support line, here we have ourselves a shoulder. Okay, so we put that in. Down here, we'd have our head. We'd come back up. We'd hit this kind of area of resistance again. We'd pull back down. We'd push back up, and we probably will push past the neckline, back test, and then bam, we kind of go up. So you can see here that within our 5-wave structure down and our 3-wave structure upwards, we can see an inverse head and shoulder pattern. Okay, so that's your short-term kind of bullish kind of scenario. Once you have completed this head scenario, you're looking to move on up. Then, of course, if we zoom out a little bit further, we have the head and shoulder pattern. Okay, which again, we're just following this. We've got 3 waves up, 5 waves down, 3 waves up, right? So knowing that we're likely to see 5 waves down afterwards, we take our head and shoulder pattern and we take this. I'm going to take it from this wick down here because our neckline is going to be somewhere around this area. It could, of course, change a little bit, but I'm going to just kind of keep this example as neat as possible. So I'm going to take it from around here. Okay, so we have our left shoulder just up here, coming down. Our head comes up to our top. We come on down into where our neckline will be, which will be in our little yellow box area. We'll then come back on up. We'll test our higher range somewhere around here. We'll then come on back down, and obviously that completes a head and shoulder pattern. And from here we basically break on down. And of course, we're expecting a 5-wave drop here, where we come down lower than the neckline and all that kind of good stuff. So essentially, we can see that whether we believe in Elliott wave theory, whether we are pattern traders, we do have a lot of information here basically saying to ourselves that we are potentially looking to complete an inverse head and shoulders, which actually inadvertently is actually creating a right shoulder on a slightly macro scale of a head and shoulder pattern, which is then going to take us on down at a later stage. So it all depends on what you follow, if you're a pattern trader or not a pattern trader, but essentially that's kind of what you're looking at. There's no Adam and Eve nonsense here. I've been through this before. An Adam and Eve is a double bottom pattern. We have not had a double bottom or anything like that. So there's not an Adam or an Eve. There is no cup and handle that I can see, but there are head and shoulder patterns being nested inside a lot of this stuff. So we should be optimistic that there's some kind of upward directional move happening once, of course, we pull back down into these lower ranges. And we finish off, these kind of low points. Now, so for the most part, for Bitcoin here, we are just kind of waiting for this next drop down. We should not go down into new lower lows. That will obviously be building some confidence back into the market from people who are unfamiliar with these structures, and essentially end up moving on up. But all of this will be short-lived. It will not set a new higher high, and of course, we will drop back down. And that's my opinion based on Elliott wave theory and the structures of the psychology of how people are going to react at Fibonacci-based numbers with retracements, etc. So when we retrace up somewhere between 20,152, 21,942, this is going to be a high pressure sell zone. Specifically because it is going to be within those Fibonacci-based numbers that people are going to feel that actually, they bought down here, they've got up here, that's going to be the point to sell. Obviously, it's going to all be low volume. There's not really that much volume really pushing through here. Essentially, if we throw the Bollinger Bands, if that's more your bag, you can kind of see that we're just looking to come on down. We're getting a slight contraction. So I imagine that this is going to contract down and we're going to hug the bottom band and we're going to fall right down into our lower range. And then maybe we'll expand back out of here as well. So keeping an eye on that. I don't think this is going to be quick either, though. I think it's probably going to take a couple of days before we hit the low end, and then it's probably going to take a little while to push on up. So timing isn't going to be something that I'm going to get right in this space, but I would estimate based on recent kind of trading activity and how long it's taken things to play out, I would say it's probably going to take a little while to both have this downward move and upward move before we can then start to push on it back down again. But yeah, that's where Bitcoin is right now. Not much else has really changed, so I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.